welcome to CBC News Today. We'll have more news in just a moment, but first, we've got a busy show with some great stories for you. Here's a quick look at some other things coming up. Author Timothy Hunt takes us inside Nigeria, where a battle to control the country's lucrative oil industry is heating up. In Nigeria, violence has been escalating as elections approach in April. Militant groups are fighting for control of the country's oil-rich Niger Delta. Over the past several months, foreign oil workers have been kidnapped, and oil production has been cut by 20%. Timothy Hunt has been following the oil battle in Nigeria for years now. He's written a book about the country, and he joins us now. Welcome.
Thank you.
Tim, what do you think about the situation in the country now from when you were there last? Are you surprised at how things have deteriorated?
Well, I was there last in 2001, and things had just begun to spiral out of control then. And now it seems like every day that goes by, things just get worse and worse and worse. Back when my book is about the Ogoni crisis and Ken Saro-Wiwa, who had tried to fight the exploitation of the oil companies and the poverty and destruction and pollution by doing nonviolent protest and raising world opinion through nonviolent methods. And in return, the Ogoni people were basically slaughtered, and Ken Saro-Wiwa was framed for murder and executed.
And so 1995?
1995, yes. And so in the ensuing years, Ken's movement has pretty much, it hasn't exactly fallen apart, but it's been shunted aside. And what has replaced it with is hundreds of these small little paramilitary groups, which are basically gangs, have decided that, well, nonviolence didn't work, let's use violence to take over all the oil resources in the region.
Right. So, I mean, I wonder if you could help us sort of understand the dynamic of the different groups there. I mean, there's the big oil companies who are there. There's the militants, and then there's a corrupt government.
Yes.
And so how does that dynamic work?
Well, with the oil companies, it's largely Shell, Royal Dutch Shell, which all the other oil companies, and there are several working in the region, all of them put together aren't as big as Shell is. And Shell works in a business relationship with the government. And since oil was discovered about 50 years ago, the government has enacted laws to make it easy for the oil companies to get the oil as cheaply and as easily as possible, trampling on human rights and making it extremely difficult for the people who live there.
We can see these pictures here of these militants. Tell us about this group.
Well, the current crop of militants, what I've been reading lately, are actually they're being funded by certain members of the state government, which it sounds surprising, but if you know what's going on, it's really not, because the states would love to have control of the oil revenue in their area, because right now most of the power in Nigeria is centered in the north of the country. And the people in the south of the country aren't reaping any of the benefits of all these billions of dollars of oil that's being taken from them.
What are the living conditions there?
Dreadful. Dreadful.
What did you see when you were there?
You would think that an area that has generated so much immense wealth would be actually a nice place to live. But no, the people there don't have roads, schools, telephones, plumbing, hospitals, pipe-borne water. Their farmlands have been despoiled, their waterways have been despoiled, they can't fish, they can't grow food. So these people from the villages now have to move to these ever-crowded cities and live in squalor, where they live hand-to-mouth. And of course, the young men form gangs and try to extort money and kidnap foreign oil workers and hold them for ransom. It's just...
It's awful. Now, this election coming in April, do you have any hope at all that anything positive could happen here?
Well, the current democratically elected president, they have term limits in Nigeria, and his term is up. And he's considering changing the constitution to allow himself to be president longer. So he's one of the former dictators of Nigeria. He's one of the better dictators, actually. But does this mean they're going to end up with another dictatorship if he decides he just doesn't want to go? I don't know.
Right. All right. Well, listen, thank you very much, Tim, for coming in and helping us understand this today. We appreciate it. And coming up after the break, we'll be getting the latest national forecast from CBC News Weather Centre. And in 15, a conversation with the Aboriginal music group Northern Cree, a Grammy nominee. And in 5 minutes, we'll find out the latest accusations in the Conrad Black case. So don't go away. We'll be right back.